of Morehouse class of 2021. Today marks the beginning of your real journey through life. All that you have done to bring you to this point is history. Your life up to this point has been preparation. Although the struggles and challenges have been great, it is nothing to compare with what lies ahead. Your Morehouse years are over. All the classes have been taken and the grades recorded. All the activities of your Morehouse career has been completed. The registrar validated that all your requirements were satisfied and you are ready to receive your diploma. But there's one final step yet to accomplish. The right that you are entitled. You must receive the mark and the light of Morehouse. Until that light is passed on to you for those who have come before you, you are still a man of Morehouse. It was really just a short time ago when you arrived here on campus for NSO. You met other young men from around the country that became good friends. You arrived one by one and formed a class. Now you leave one by one, forever a brotherhood. Morehouse will supply memories you will hold dear in your heart and cherish forever. All these experiences will come to your mind as you begin life as a graduate. The journey through Morehouse may be over, but it is not complete. This ceremony is the final process of transition from Morehouse College into the world. This is the rite of final passage. Through this sacred place on the Red Hill, you will be released, but first, you must be reminded of who you really are. The final rite begins now and ends when you are the light and spirit of Morehouse. And officially on Sunday, into the world, a Morehouse man. A man ultimately responsible for enduring the transformation of these young men into Morehouse men is our president, Dr. David Anthony Thomas. We ask you, Mr. President, are each of these young men ready to become Morehouse men?
They are ready. I stand in a very special place on our campus. The Sale Hall Chapel was where the architects of the Morehouse man molded, nurtured, taught, and inspired generations to become true leaders against any and all obstacles. It was in this space that young men were told to rise far above others' expectations of them, to not let the current worldview of black men's potential, or especially the Morehouse man's potential, influence their own destiny. The spirit of Morehouse is in this place, and it is an honor to join the ranks of other Morehouse presidents that use this chapel to share their thoughts and encouragement to earlier classes. And now I am honored to share my thoughts and encouragement to this class.
Upon the recommendation of President Thomas, let the rite of final passage begin for the 137 graduation class of Morehouse College.
You represent two classes, the class of 2020 and the class of 21. To the class of 2020, in our occasion at the December virtual graduation, I said to you that 2020 is also a metaphor for perfect vision. We saw in that period many things that draw us to the perfect vision of the importance of Morehouse in the current world that surrounds us. In class of 2021, you came of age as seniors at Morehouse College in that same period. So you also saw the crystallization of the importance of Morehouse and our purpose. 21 in numerology is considered an important number. It casts light on the future. So together, classes of 2020 and 2021, you are the tip of the spear of where Morehouse must go in the future. I would ask that each of you take to heart the Morehouse mission to educate men with disciplined minds who will lead lives of leadership and service. I am agnostic about what vocation you choose, but I am definite about the fact that having crossed this stage of Morehouse College, you are obligated to lead and to serve. And because of my personal relationship with so many of you, I am confident that you, like past generations of Morehouse graduates, will not let us down. Go forth with confidence and humility that the world needs you and that you are prepared to meet the world. Thank you. Godspeed.
If you release me in King Chapel, you'll get a man of Morehouse back. I will make Morehouse a better place.
To the men of the class of 2021, as your freshman class dean, it is my honor and pleasure to greet you today and to welcome you to this special occasion. Congratulations on your successful Morehouse journey. We are very proud of you. However, we did not have any idea of the challenges that you would face during this journey. I believe it is safe to say most all Morehouse classes face trying times during their respective journeys. As you began your journey, life rolled out a continuum of unforeseen, unprecedented, life-threatening challenges that faced our world, our country, and our communities, as well as our homes. You were forced to see a side of life as it truly is, unfiltered. However, in spite of these harsh challenges and realities, perhaps never seen before, your class remained focused, persistent, and determined to reach its educational goals. You were successful in and out of your classroom. You were successful in providing community service to the hungry and to the least of these. You were successful in traveling the world. You were successful in making friends for life. You have what we call Morehouse resiliency. Now that you have arrived at the end of your journey, I can certainly testify you have the inner fortitude, the disciplined mind, moral character to make the world, especially our communities, a better and safer place to live. Continue to grow and develop into strong, intelligent, and compassionate men. The world needs you now more than ever. Be a great Morehouse man. You will be a class that we will always remember. I am honored to have served you.
If there's a river,
You can cross it.
you can cross it.
And if there's a cross,
And if there's a cross,
you can carry it.
you can carry it.
During your NSO parent parting ceremony 4 years ago, the hopes, dreams, and prayers of your parents and guardians were placed in the Howard Thurman chest. This chest was a gift to Dr. Thurman, class of 1923, by the Honorable Mahatma Gandhi. I will now go to the chest and pick out 3 slips of wishes and hopes from the parents and read them to the audience.
That you can't do.
That you can do.
If there's a mountain,
If there's a mountain,
you can climb.
you can climb.
If there's a valley, you can trek. If there's a river,
If there's a river,
Some parents hoped that their sons would have a successful freshman year. Some prayed that their sons would become strong men with disciplined minds. Some prayed that their sons would develop lifelong friendships, and many prayed for this very day to come. I will now read 3 slips from the parents and guardians. Son, I've done my job, and now it is your time to let you go. You are a young man now. God has so much in store for you. I pray you make choices in life. Go out there and make us proud. I'll miss you, but it's time to let you go. Love, Mom. We wish for you the courage, wisdom, and strength to realize and make come to pass all of the greatness God has put inside you. We love you always. Take care of yourself, Mom and Dad. And lastly, dear son, our wish for you is to find the key to yourself. And in doing so, you realize you can do whatever you set your mind to. That your faith will grow stronger in God, become the man God designed you to become, a graduate of Morehouse College. Love, Mom and Dad. So this day has come, and all of the dreams that placed in the thermal chest 4 years ago have been realized. And symbolizing these hopes and dreams and prayers, these special slips are burned, releasing the energy to carry you through your future. We capture the energy in the light. The energy from your parents and guardians, hopes and dreams are combined with your hopes and the preparation that you receive from Morehouse. This energy symbolized here will undergird your efforts to become a strong Morehouse man.
Graduation from an historically black college represents the culmination of numerous extraordinary sacrifices, not the least of which are financial and the wishes and prayers of families of the graduates. It is truly a sacred affair. Graduation from Morehouse is the absolute pinnacle of families' sacrifices, dedication, and the exercise of discipline by the students who are preparing for promising careers. On the college's 100th anniversary, Dr. Mays described it this way: that a school founded slightly less than 2 years after the Civil War in the basement of the Springfield Baptist Church in Augusta, Georgia, in a hostile environment with only 38 unlettered adult ex-slaves, enrolled with no money, with not much hope, with inadequate support for 100 years, should survive is tantamount to a miracle. Dr. Mays went on to say it could be called an act of God. In his charge to my graduating class of 1958, the words then spoken by Dr. Benjamin E. Mays are relevant to you, members of the class of 2021. And I quote, "For good or ill, from this moment on, you will bear the mark, the stamp, the badge of Morehouse College. If you attain greatness, Morehouse College will attain greatness. If you attain mediocrity, Morehouse will be mediocre. If you fail in life, and God forbid, Morehouse will fail too. Morehouse can be no greater than you, the sum total of the deeds of its alumni. Wherever you go, whatever you do, whatever you say, you will carry in your personality the mark of this college, and never forget, it is expected of Morehouse men that they make their mark in the world, an honorable mark. Achieve success, achieve fame, and acquire wealth if you can. But whatever you do, seek at all times to maintain the integrity of your soul. Die poor if need be, die unknown, unhonored, and unsung if need be, die in chains if necessary, but never sell your soul for that which you know is wrong. Compromise if you must, but always in the direction of the ideal. Never compromise the principle. Keep the soul inviolate. Therein lies true freedom. From the eyes of Morehouse will follow you from now on in. From this moment on, you will wear the sign of Morehouse College. Wear it with dignity." End of quote. The alumni who surround you are men who distinguish themselves in every field of endeavor. They are alumni who followed the sound of African drums in a ceremonial welcoming you to our ranks as proud Morehouse men. Your National Alumni Association extends our wish for each of you to embrace a future that is committed to the exemplary ideals of Morehouse College, this dear, dear school. For in the words of Dr. Mays, it is expected of you. As Morehouse alumni, we have lineage that is extraordinarily rich and should greatly influence everything that we do in life.
I'm building me a home. I'm building me a home. I'm building me a home.
To members of this graduating class, I invite you to imagine returning to this campus 58 years from today, in the year 2079. It is an honor to welcome to the 20th Rite of Final Passage ceremony a distinguished member of the Morehouse College class of 1963. Dr. David Satcher is a physician, scientist, and public health administrator with an extensive track record of leadership, research, and community engagement. He is a Phi Beta Kappa graduate of Morehouse and holds MD and PhD degrees from Case Western University, where he was also elected to Alpha Omega Alpha Honor Society. Dr. Satcher served as the 16th Surgeon General of the United States and the Assistant Secretary for Health in the Department of Health and Human Services.
The American people have come to expect that when the Surgeon General speaks out on a topic, it will be based on the best available public health science.
He also served as director of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and administrator of the Agency for Toxic Substances and Disease Registry. Dr. Satcher also held top leadership positions at Charles R. University for Medicine and Science, Meharry Medical College, and the Morehouse College School of Medicine. He has received over 50 honorary degrees and received numerous awards from diverse organizations and agencies. Currently, Dr. Satcher is the founding director and senior advisor for the Satcher Health Leadership Institute at Morehouse School of Medicine. To paraphrase Dr. Howard Thurman, the professional life of this Morehouse man places the symbolic crown high above the heads of the class of 2021 and challenges you to grow tall enough to wear it. This Morehouse man is presented as a role model for you, members of the Morehouse College class of 2021. We are honored to have Lighting the Candle of the Mystique, performed by Dr. David Satcher, Morehouse College class of 1963.
The candle of the mystique is lit. This lighted candle represents the spirit of Morehouse. It represents the fulfillment of your parents' dreams and aspirations while here. It reflects your commitment and your dedication to finish your journey here at Morehouse College. It is shared along with the spirit of all the graduates of 153 years before you. It is the sacred light that I am about to pass on to you, the next generation of Morehouse men. As a Morehouse alumnus and chairman of the Board of Trustees of the college, I am honored to offer this consecration of the candle of the mystique and welcome you to the class of 2021 as you prepare to join the brotherhood. As the only post-secondary institution in America with a mission to educate and develop predominantly black men of character for leadership, our resolve has never wavered. On Sunday morning, you will become a Morehouse man. There will come a time when it will become crystal clear that the years spent here left an indelible mark of confidence on your life. In 1923, the president, John Hope, the first African-American president of the college, called upon Morehouse men to keep your eyes and not allow a desire for a dollar or for popularity or make you do things that are absolutely against our progress in the long run. Morehouse calls upon its sons to be committed to the community, to speak truth to power, and to never compromise your integrity. So I urge you to be steadfast, honest, and true in the realization of wherever you go in life, you bear the mark of a Morehouse man. I call upon you to use it for the good of the human race. I call upon you to not falter in your support of dear old Morehouse, to seek out and become active in your National Alumni Association, wherever you may reside, for we expect nothing less of you. And now for my prayer of consecration is this. May you have the blessings of God as you begin your journey. May you be protected in your pursuits. May the mystique that Morehouse illuminate your path May God shine its light upon you, and may this light shine for his glory. Amen. Hear now the ancestral words from Morehouse's past.
Coming up in a segregated, semi-slave society, every black man has to learn what he is, and the black man was taught that he was a child of God, that God created all men on the basis of equality. This being true, that a man gets his status not from the state and not from his environment and not from the federal government, but he gets his status from God. So, believing that, I've always believed that I had as much right to walk the earth with dignity and pride as anybody else. And I suppose it is from that I have gone on all these years trying to make my contribution to society in dignity and with dignity, and inspiring black boys and girls to do the same thing. When I came to Morehouse, when the endowment was slightly more than $1 million, I came to Morehouse because it was a great institution and is a great institution. Great in hope, great in ambition, great in ideals, great in aspirations. The men who taught here led Morehouse men to believe that whatever was possible under the sun, a Morehouse man could do it. Samuel Howard Archer, Benjamin Brawley, John Hope, B.T. Harvey, and many others were here when I came. Many of my leading students were at Morehouse at that time. They became great leaders. I have in mind the Lawler boys. They went into medicine. The Payne boys, 2 went into education and 1 into medicine. The Neighbors, both went into education. And there was Howard Thurman. And when the call came to me to come to Morehouse in 1940, I could not help but think of the stimulating friends and the stimulating students I had had in my first teaching experience. I came to Morehouse because it was a great institution, great in ideals and great in aspiration, and great in determination. A freshman entering Morehouse College, he didn't have to be around here but 2 or 3 days before he pulled something out of the air, which led him to believe not only that great things were expected of him, but that he could achieve great things. This is the chapel in the Sale Hall. I think this is where I made my greatest impact on the Morehouse student. It was here where I said to them that they could be poor, they could be black, their ancestors may have been slaves, they may be segregated or discriminated against, but they could still be free in their minds and in their souls, because no man is a slave until he accepts that fact in his mind. It is perhaps here that I made my greatest impact on Martin Luther King Jr. Now, everywhere I go in the United States, any state in the Union, I'm likely to run into somebody who would tell me that my life has meant something to them. And many times they can point out the place and the time and what I said or what I did that influenced them and inspired them to go on. So if I made any contribution at all, I think it is inspiring men and women, black and white, but particularly black students, to walk the earth with dignity and pride and work hard and not expect anything to be given to them because they're black, but they got to earn it. And I think My contribution is in that area. With all due respect to the buildings I have caused to be built and the endowment that I have, little endowment I have helped to raise for Morehouse. But I think my contribution is in people.
Benjamin Elijah Mays.
Men of Morehouse, a class that had to endure changes, challenges, and hardships. But through it all, you have remained resilient, committed, steadfast, honest, and true. You have persevered in faith, and now your faith has brought you to this point, the rite of final passage. 4 years ago was the start of your transformation into a Morehouse man. 4 years ago, at this parents' parting ceremony, Reverend Dr. Carter told you and your parents that Morehouse's job was to get you across the river standing up. President Thomas says you've made it. You are standing up, and you are prepared to become Morehouse men. But not yet. Before you can step on the shore and join your fellow alumni brothers, there's one thing and one final thing you must understand. You need to understand the real purpose of this journey at Morehouse. Dr. Mays said there's something in the air at Morehouse, that it only takes a few days and students believe they can accomplish great things. That's the key. Dr. Mays knew and understood better than most the reason. He knew that 4 years ago you stepped onto hallowed and sacred ground. This school was created by God to specifically prepare black men for moral and ethical servant leadership. Men that are prepared to change their communities and his world. There's a reason we bow our heads asking the Holy Spirit to make us steadfast, honest, and true to dear old Morehouse and her ideals in all thing that we do. It's a constant reminder and a prayer to guide us. We are men of faith, developed to provide leadership in all areas of life. So before you can leave, you need to hear one last time before you cross over into a Morehouse man. And just as God told Moses to tell Joshua to gather the children of Israel at the banks of the Jordan River before they could cross over to their promised land, you're at your river about to cross. He told Moses to remind Joshua to tell them about their ancestry, their legacy, God's faithfulness, and his promise. 3 times Joshua was told, be strong, be courageous, so that you will be prosperous and successful. So you too are gathering here to remind you of Morehouse's legacy, its ancestry, its expectations for you before you can cross over to become a Morehouse man. Make no mistake about it. That same God that led Moses and his people out of Africa, the same God that told Joshua to lead his people into the promised land, the same God that directed Jesus to come down to earth and up on the cross to save his people, it is the same God that allowed you to come to Morehouse and brought you through this journey. Hear now our story of why you are here as men of Morehouse. 400 years ago, 1619, 20 of our forefathers from Ndingo were kidnapped, enslaved, and brought to Virginia colony in America. And the Lord immediately heard their cries, their chants for freedom from the bottom of ships. In the tobacco, cotton, and rice fields, the drums, the chants, the songs, and the cries for freedom grew louder and louder. In 1739, after the Stono Rebellion in South Carolina, the British passed the Negro Act of 1740, silencing the drums, making it illegal to gather, to grow our own food, to travel without permission, and to learn to read and write. And they branded us chattel. The Lord knew he needed to speak to his children directly So he shined his light into America during what was called the Great Awakening, awakening abolitionists in the North, and then the light traveled into the South, looking for fertile ground from which to begin the process of freeing his people from physical bondage, but also mental bondage. During that decade, that light took root on Beach Island, South Carolina, in the plantation of George Gelfrin, and rested in the heart of a freedman named David George. The power of the Spirit provided a light to Dave George to gather people in the bush armors, and that church became Silver Bluff Baptist Church in 1750, the first independent Black American church in America. The light burned in the hearts of men longing to be free, long before America was free itself, 37 years later. In 1808, members of that congregation took the Spirit and the light across Savannah River to Augusta, Georgia, and they started Springfield Baptist Church. It grew to be the largest Baptist church in the state of Florida. In 1863, as we know, the Lord told Abraham Lincoln to stop the war, change the law, and free his people. In 1865, the Civil War finally ended, freeing our ancestors from physical bondage. And by that time, our numbers had grown from 20 to 4 million. Even though they knew and believed the word by faith that was in their hearts from the spiritual life in Africa, they could neither read nor write it. So they created schools and institutions all over the South, and we call them HBCUs. And they were all on a hill: Howard University, Hampton, Talladega, Fisk. However, the Lord wanted to create a very special place just for Black men, and he gave that to Springfield Baptist Church, that church that started in 1750. And the light, a special light, was placed in the basement of 38 freed slaves. And he wanted to teach men to teach and to preach. That special light burned brightly in the basement of that church, but Augusta was not the right place to hold the light. So in 1881, he moved the light to a basement of Friendship Baptist Church in Atlanta, alongside his institution for women. But the Lord didn't want his light to remain in a basement. He wanted his light to be seen by all, so he looked for the highest hill in Atlanta. And that hill belonged to the richest man in America, John D. Rockefeller. But God sent a messenger to Rockefeller and said, I need that hill. And he got that hill. And in 1889, the Lord said, I'm going to build me a house on that hill. So he built the tallest building at the time on the highest hill in Atlanta, and he placed his light and he placed a bell to ring. God was so pleased with that house that he built that he named it after the man who asked Rockefeller for the hill. He named it after Reverend Henry Morehouse. Morehouse on the hill in Atlanta. But the Lord could see that his people were getting educated, but still not totally free in their mind. Obstacles and challenges and laws were placed on them to suppress their potential. They needed to be free in mind as well as body. So here's the miraculous mission of Morehouse: a disciplined mind who lives lives of leadership and service. And so the Lord told a Morehouse man, Mordecai Johnson, president of Howard University, to send a Morehouse man, Howard Thurman, to go to India to start a school so he could meet a small Hindu activist named Mahatma Gandhi. Thurman met and talked with Gandhi and returned to Howard University with two things. One is that chest we have here, and the other was a prophecy. Gandhi said that it may be through the Negroes that the unadulterated message of nonviolence will be delivered to the world. Think about this. The year was 1935. Martin Luther King was 6 years old. The Lord had set a timetable of 20 years for on December 5th, 1955, all hell was to break loose in America, and a woman by the name of Rosa Parks would utter the words "no more," and Martin would lead other HBCU graduates to start changing the world, just like Gandhi said. And he did it. And Martin took that light of Morehouse with him into a nation, cursed the darkness, and he set people free in mind and soul. And on April 4th, 1968, the Lord came down and took Martin back from the mountaintop. And he said, "Well done, my good and faithful servant leadership." That special light had done its work through Reconstruction, through World War I, through Jim Crow, through the Great Depression, through segregation, through World War II, through Korea and Vietnam, and all social and cultural challenges. The light never flickered. The light of Morehouse has been taken into politics with Sanford Bishop, Julian Bond, Cedric Richmond, Randall Woodward, into government with Lou Sullivan, David Satcher, Robert Mallet, Jay Johnson, into technology with Paul Young, Donald Hopkins, Dr. Walter Massey, and 13% of all black PhDs in computer science, into sports with Edwin Moses and Jerome Boger and Harold Ellis, and into the arts, John David Washington, Samuel L. Jackson, Spike Lee, and in business with Willie Wood, Maceo Sloan, C.D. Moody, and it goes on and on and on. Morehouse is different. Morehouse is dedicated and disciplined minds, and the #1 producer of blacks going to Harvard Business School. In education, Michael Lomax, Calvin Butts, Eddie Galt, and we go on and on. There is a reason for Morehouse. There is a reason that 50 college presidents have come out of this institution. These black men and many more broke through ceilings because they breathed the air and accepted the responsibility to carry the light into the world. Behold the light of Morehouse, a candle in the dark. And a question, gentlemen, is this: how will you use this light? For you enter a world of darkness, void of your contribution and your service as a graduate of Morehouse College. Will you be the light? And the question, gentlemen, is how will you use that light? Will you use your knowledge here that you gain here? Will you use it for service? Will you use it for knowledge for good? Will you use it for your community? For how a man uses his knowledge bears witness to his character, his integrity, and his reputation. How will you use the light, my brother? Remember these words from Dr. Mays. It is not sufficient for Morehouse to produce clever graduates, men fluent in speech and able to argue their way through, but rather honest men. Men who can be trusted in public and private, who are sensitive to the wrongs and the sufferings and the injustices of the society, and who are willing to accept the responsibility for correcting the ills. The world needs Morehouse men. And on Sunday morning, when you hear the dear old Morehouse, I want you to sing it in a new way. Hear now the words with new meaning. Not just a song, but a commitment. Dear old Morehouse, dear old Morehouse, we have pledged our lives to thee, and will ever, yea, forever, give ourselves in loyalty. True forever to old Morehouse may we be. So to bind each son the other into ties more brotherly. Holy Spirit, make us steadfast, honest, and true. to old Morehouse and her ideals and in everything we do. So, gentlemen, 3 questions to ask you now that you're about to cross over. Will you accept the responsibility to honor the legacy of the light and be a loyal Morehouse man? Will you commit to take your light and to serve your family, your community, your nation, and your college in time, talent, and tender? And lastly, are you ready? Are you ready to take your light into the world and let it shine bright? Are you ready, gentlemen? Are you ready? Then if you are ready, you are ready to receive your light.
Now we pass on the spirit and light of Morehouse to a new generation of Morehouse men.
Men of Morehouse, you have received the spirit and the light of Morehouse. You can now extinguish the flame, for it is within you.
Now oh.